Gonna record. All right, man. Okay. What's going on, guys? This is another episode of Fatherhood Friday. I have my guest on today, my partner, Marcel Lee. How we doing, Marcel?
Good, man. Good. Feeling great.
Good, man. It's a pleasure to have you on, man. One of the
Thanks for
reasons why
having
we
me.
have Thank you, thank you. One of the reasons why we have Marcel on today is he's went through the adoption process with his daughter, and becoming, her legal guardian, going through the courts, going through all of that, so he's went from, maybe in the eyes of the public from being stepdaddy to official, the real dad, but he's been really handling that role really well for several years. But now it's just very official, and we just thought it would be something that could, just be very informative for our viewers and for people that might be watching Fatherhood Friday. So before we get into that, Marcel, just tell us about yourself, man. Who are you? Where you're from? What's your age? All that good stuff, brother.
Okay. Well, I was born in Cincinnati, grew up there, born and raised. Decided to join the military just to make some changes within my life, just to better myself at the age of 19. And so I served for 9 years. My first duty station was in Alaska.
Yes, sir.
And of course,
where you met the homie.
Exactly. And then I went to Ramstein next, and then I ended up in Idaho, and that's where I met my wife and my daughter. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a love story here, y'all.
Exactly.
When Jessica see this. Okay. So my man was in the military, 9 years, man. What was that experience like, bro?
Man, it was great, man. A lot of traveling, a lot of fun. I became a man there. I learned a lot.
Sure. Did you get deployed?
Oh yes, four deployments.
In how many years? In 9 years?
Yes, 9 years.
You was moving.
TDYs and all. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. That's awesome, man. Thank you for your service, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is it like growing up in Cincinnati, man? I heard you say you're from the Cincinnati.
Man, it was tough. It wasn't normal. I realized that later on.
Yeah.
As I got older, but I had a great support system. I feel like that's how I got to where I am now. Just having a solid support system. So
awesome, awesome,
it
man.
was
awesome. And so we talk about Fatherhood Friday, man. Like, what is your relationship with your father?
Oh, me and my father, good. We're
awesome.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they look just alike. Look just alike. All right, man. So the big reason why we have you on here is for the adoption process, man. So with your daughter, how long had you been in her life? How long, since when did you come around? Harmony is her name, correct?
Yes.
All right, that's little mama's name. And how long have you been in her life, man, at this point?
Since she was 3 years old.
3 years old, okay.
3 years old, she's now 9.
And she's now 9. So the last 6 years you've been holding it down.
Yes.
When you started dating her mom, was that like, were you scared of kids? Were you open to that? Like, how did you feel about that? Was this the first relationship with a person that had children, or what's your background as far as that going? As far as that?
Actually, nothing serious. I hadn't been into anything serious, with a woman with kids. But basically, when I first met her, she told me that it's funny. You have a story just as she brought up not too long ago, that when I asked her, "Hey, let's go to the movies," she said, I have a kid. I said, okay, well, I'm inviting her too. We're all going to the movies.
For real?
So she was like, oh, okay, yeah. So and that was my thing. And as I got to know her, and
so on the
Harmony,
first date, all y'all went to the movies.
We all went to the movie.
That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. And as you got to know her, what?
It's just, man, for some reason, man, I was open, man. It just, I
Mm-hmm.
became more vulnerable, and I
Yep.
feel like I always like to say, uh, it wasn't my doing at all.
Yeah.
I feel like it was God's doing, man. So when
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with Jess, I fell in love with Harmony too.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
So the first date is, man, like he making it hard for the brothers. I might have to cut that out, man. So first date is man saying, hey, we all going to the movie. All right, that's dope, man. So you've been around her for a little while. How long before you and Jessica actually, went from the dating stage to actually being married?
And to be honest, man, it probably took a year.
A year. Okay.
It was on a year,
Okay.
yeah.
And are you around Harmony this whole time, or are you just
Yes.
playing it cool? Like, what was your involvement in
No,
the beginning?
I was around her the whole time, man. We had it's a funny story, but like it's like if you know, you know. So basically, we were together for a minute, and then she ended up moving in, and so
Okay.
of course I was hands on. I was around. Uh,
So the child moved in, everybody moved in. You guys were staying under one roof.
exactly. I'm staying under
Correct.
one
Okay.
roof. And then I went TDY
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit, came back, went TDY for a little bit, and I came back. So it was that kind of deal. But I was definitely present with
Okay.
everything,
Okay. So then you decide to just pop the question and seal the deal and ask for your wife's hand in marriage.
Yes,
What was
and
what was your thoughts as far as like yeah, I'm gonna have to be a daddy now? Were you turned down by that? Were you super open to that? Like because being a step pop ain't the easiest thing, man. I don't think anybody would say that's like that comes with the whole set of things that people I don't even think they realize it's just very difficult, or it can be very easy. What was your experience, man?
for me, Harmony, man, she's a beautiful soul, man. She's special. She made
Uh-huh.
it easy for me. Uh,
Okay.
and I went into that knowing that I would
Okay.
have that responsibility. So when I proposed to my wife, I proposed to Harmony as well. You
Oh
know,
man.
yeah.
Man. Come on, Sam. Come on, man. That's dope,
Yeah,
man.
so
That's super
so
dope. So you letting them know it's a package, is everybody.
exactly
That's awesome, man. I think
right,
sometimes
right.
people don't do that, man. They don't really, we date people or we marry people, and they do have kids, and a lot of us don't really. I don't think we take all that into consideration. I think
Hmm.
that's kudos to you, man, for really
Thank
understanding
you,
the responsibility and taking everything that came with your wife and y'all daughter. That's beautiful, man.
thank you.
Yeah. So you said it was a really easy transition. What is the first maybe 1 to 3 years kind of like learning how to be a dad? I guess you got to skip some of the stuff at first,
Hmm.
right? You got to skip the Pampers and all that good stuff. So at
Right.
3, 4 years old, she's almost pretty much pre-K, ready to go to school. What
Hmm.
what is that process like, man? What was your experience then?
I think it was still fresh, but it
Hmm.
was a beautiful experience because she was still young enough to where she's still
Yeah,
learning as far as
still
like
having those
her
first moments. Uh-huh.
foundation, first moments,
Oh,
tying the shoes, riding the bikes. So it was beautiful. And me being new, I was open as well. Being a
yeah,
new parent, open as well to learning new things. We have our ways.
for sure.
Coming down from our parents. Certain things we take, certain things that we leave. And
Yes.
I was open to a lot with my wife. Of course, having a, a background in dealing with infants and toddlers, teacher, so
Yeah, that's
so
dope.
it was
So,
definitely a beautiful experience though, man. A lot of learning and growing,
hmm
but it was amazing.
yeah, I love it, man. So you said you got to be involved with a lot of the first, first riding the bikes, first day at school, all
Yes.
those questions, man. So we finally get to a point that you actually want to go through this adoption process. What led you guys up to that? I always, from outsider looking in, I've always just considered her to be your daughter. Why did you guys feel that it was important to take this extra step to really solidify things?
Just to further cement our family structure. We knew what it was, and
Okay.
in my heart,
Yeah,
that's my baby, and my heart is committed to her for forever,
for sure. For
So
sure.
and usually, like like with my wife, I knew she was my wife before we got the papers done.
Yeah.
So and it was the same with Harmony, with a biological father not being in the picture at all.
Okay.
He wasn't in the picture at all. So it was kind of a smoother process. At least we thought it would be initially.
Okay. Okay. And let's talk about that. So the biological father isn't present, isn't really involved as much as we might like him to be. Did that play a bigger role in it, or was this just like totally something that you guys just wanted to do, Harmony wanted to do, or did that kind of add that extra incentivize to be like, okay, well, he ain't doing what he's supposed to do, why don't, there's no reason that, we should not go through with this adoption process. Did that play any hand in it?
I felt like, in a way, it didn't and it did.
Okay.
Because either way,
Explain.
like I said, either way, I was there. I'm gonna be there forever.
For sure.
I made that commitment, and I made, that's my responsibility. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
it was necessary, it was mandatory. So but with him being absent, even more so, I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
you know um
Awesome. What are those, just again, we're trying to keep this informative,
right.
and just almost just like step by step. If a parent is not involved, does that, because I think I heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it made it easier, or it didn't make, why would it matter? And like, how is it easier because a parent is not involved, and how would it be harder if the father was involved per se?
See, it's a case by case. Sometimes it depends on the state that you're in too.
Okay.
uh in our case, with her being in Oregon, we kind of had to follow Oregon guidelines.
Okay.
And Washington too. It was kind of like a mess since
Okay.
we're living in here now. So,
Okay.
but he wasn't on the birth certificate or anything. But because she knew
Oh.
that he was a father, he still had parental rights.
Okay.
So we had to basically reach out to him to see if he would waive those rights,
Okay.
or it was go to the court, and take
Okay.
that route. So
Okay. And was that a smooth thing? Did he waive them, or did you guys have to go a different route?
um well, I spoke to him,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like that was the right thing to do. It just
Yes, sir.
felt right to me to speak to him. And
Yes, sir.
he was hesitant, even though he hasn't been present for all this time. I think at the time it was like 7 years. Uh, but he then called me back and agreed to
Okay.
waive his rights, because he's like, hey, it seems like you've been doing a great job this far, so
Okay. That's
let's go ahead and
awesome.
do it. But we got him all the documents and sent them all the paperwork. It's like verbatim. I gave him everything exactly how he needed to fill it out. I did
Mm-hmm.
a hard, like a soft copy, just so he couldn't make any errors, and he just decided not to respond to it.
Uh,
And so that's when we had to go another route, and
okay.
and get the courts involved, lawyers
Okay.
involved.
And that other route is actually having to go through lawyers and through the legal system. Is it less money one way or the other? Is it less time one way or the other? What's the biggest hiccups? Because I mean, it is a legal type of thing, so I'm sure some form of law and legalities and some type of court and different things, and lawyers are going to have to be involved either way. Is it just a shorter process if you want to give up your parental rights? Does it just make it smoother and easier to do than if they don't?
Right. Well, it's definitely a shorter process if they give up the parental rights, and it's cheaper as well, because you then just have to pay for, it's a few documents that they have to process in the courts that, you have to pay those fees. But since he didn't waive those rights, now we have to pay for the lawyer and additional fees because there are more documents.
Got it. So makes sense. Makes sense. So as we're talking about fees, like what could a person, because again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So again, I appreciate you for kind of opening this up for me, man. Like what is a person looking at from like the beginning to the end of the adoption process? What are they looking at as far as costs? And I know you said it's per state, but just give me like a roundabout what a person should kind of expect to pay.
I'll say just to like a soft estimate, I would say around 3,000.
3,000.
Just a soft estimate. Yeah, just and the cost of living is a bit higher in Washington. So
so
that initial just to play it safe, because that initial sit down, it varies, of course, with the lawyers and stuff like that. But that initial sit down, we were looking at 1,500. So.
Yes.
So
what would you say to a person that's on the fence about this? Like, they have maybe a mom or a dad, a biological mom or dad that's not in the life of the children. They have been around for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years like yourself. And, the kids, like, because I'm sure even with your situation, like, well, I want to have your last name. Kids are very smart, man. They put a lot of things together. So not only do you have the pressure of just, wanting to, have your family, be all under one roof and one accord, so to speak. You also have the pressure. You don't want to have a child feeling like an outsider. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And even though that's not how you feel, sometimes it can be perceived that way, and that's how they feel. What would you say to anybody that's on the cusp of thinking about this and going through this process? What words would you give them? What words of advice would you give them, man?
I'll say for me, I would just say I really didn't want my child to fill a void or to feel unwanted. I wanted her to feel whole. I wanted to put forth everything that I had to make sure that she did feel whole. So in our case, going about with it this way, it kind of, like I said, cemented that in a way. Like she already knew, because we're a family that we don't keep any secrets, and we communicate a good bit. So we spoke to her along the way the whole time. And I definitely let her know that, my heart is it's no different with your little sisters, heaven and halo. There's no difference. It's all the same with me. You're all my girls, and we're all in it forever. So, like I said, to just to cement that process, I think it's no. For us, it wasn't. We've been working it for a while, so it's no perfect time. As long as you make progress, because for us, to be honest, it felt like it was forever. You know. But
how long did the process take for you guys to go from talking about it, sitting down with the lawyers, letting them know what you have to do, to you guys going through the back and the forth with references and whatever else you might have to do? Like, how long was this process?
I would say it took us 2 years. just
2 years.
about 2 years,
And
because
is that normal or is that longer than usual?
I felt like it's probably usually, if you have everything in order, and both parties, meaning, that biological father, he's on board with everything, it can move smooth as far as, like, the background checks and the sit downs, because you have with the adoption coordinator, basically, you have to
Okay.
do interviews, just so they can do checks and make sure that you
For
are
sure.
fit,
For
uh,
sure.
to be a parent. And
How
so
fast can they go? Like, what's the fastest? Like, say everything is in line. What's the fastest they can do?
I think it'll take 6 months with all the
6 months.
background check. It was a bit quicker for me because of my background, because it's just a federal back, being in the military too.
Got
So
it.
that expedited the process for sure.
Okay. 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 So what was the
But
longest part for you guys? What were you hung up on for the longest part?
uh, trying to, and it was me more so trying to give him time to uh, send this stuff back
Yeah.
before
Okay.
we took the legal route.
Okay. And
I was just trying to.
what was it about that you felt like you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt with that? Do you guys have a relationship, or was this just you just being a solid guy that you are?
Man, I think that's I feel like that's where my heart was, man, and
Okay.
I felt like it was the right thing to do.
Okay.
um and so it was, looking at it like, if that was me, even though I had nothing to do with anything for all this time, it would have felt good, getting that call at least.
Hmm. I like
So
it.
and we didn't have to do that, of course. We could have went all the way around it. We could have
Yeah.
did a lot of things, but we didn't. So I felt like it was necessary for us to talk, just to
That's
check his temperature, and see where everything was, and but it worked out for the best.
dope. Dope. That's super solid, man. I think that's very big of you and your wife to really extend that grace, and because I could also see a lot of people having a whole bunch of feelings and different things like that. When you
Hmm.
talk about a person
Hmm.
that hasn't really been in the picture for
Hmm.
an extended period of time, and you still just trying to do the right thing by them, but not getting the communication that you want, and it kind of holding up the process. So,
Yeah.
man, I definitely commend you guys with that. What is a big myth that people might think? Maybe they assume a certain thing about adoption. Maybe they assume a certain thing about the process. What is a thing that you guys maybe went into it thinking that's how it goes, and that's absolutely not how it goes? Or maybe something that people just don't know at all, man. Can you fill us in on that?
I think with the interviews and the checks, we
Okay.
were expecting, like, all of these in-home visit, them coming in to verify and just running through our finances and doing all of it. It wasn't that. It
Okay.
wasn't that at all. They weren't really super pressed on that.
Okay.
The interview was, is it was uh, like night and day from what I thought it would be like. It was actually
Okay.
pretty smooth. They spoke with Harmony, asked her how she felt about it, and then they spoke with Jess, prior to that, and then they spoke with me. And so that part was, I was expecting it to be a lot different, but it was actually pretty smooth. So.
Okay. Okay. I think that's very refreshing for a person that might, have some anxiety uh,
Hmm.
wrapping their mind around this whole process, because
Hmm.
I was thinking they would probably, go through you real stringent, like
Yeah,
they not
exactly.
playing, you know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
popping up. Um,
Right, exactly.
yeah, but that's good to know, man. Thank you for clarifying that.
Hmm.
Um, how are things different now that you are officially, you know, her daddy all the way from the state to the whoever, like all the way through and through? I mean, again, we know that you've always been in that role, but now that you guys have gone through the process, how are things different in your opinion?
uh, just like I said, man, my heart, man. It was already there, you know.
Hmm.
I was her dad, and you know, she was my daughter. You know, no matter
Hmm.
what any paper said, but the name changed as far as like, you know, with school at school,
Yeah.
you know, with medical, you know, all
Yeah.
of that stuff changes. So, you know, it's it's Mrs. Lee now. So uh
It's dope.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
she's just so excited about it, and everything she does is, oh, it's Mrs. Lee.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
That's
she
dope.
funny, but I think as far as that go, I feel like that's really the biggest thing that changed. But as far as our relationship, uh, it's still what it is, man.
Yeah.
I put forth everything, you know, and
Hmm.
making sure that the girls are good, you know, because we
Yeah.
dictate a lot, and during this process, a lot of people they reached out to me and they gave me kudos as to you know say, you know, you did a solid thing, a great thing, but I felt like it wasn't just me doing for her, she was doing for me, you know.
That's dope. That's
She
dope.
changed my life, man. She really
Hmm.
did. You
That's
know,
dope.
that's my baby. Yeah.
So with Marcel, you have two other children.
Yeah.
Um, what was that dynamic like? Is that has that did that kind of, and I know we're kind of going back, but did that kind of
Hmm.
fuel a little bit of just wanting to, because now the other two girls came out, their name was Lee, like it was certain rights that you had and all those good
Hmm.
things. Did that
Hmm.
like push you guys, to really kind of want to solidify this thing as well and kind of play into, really officially wanting to put this thing on paper and document it in the way that you guys have went about?
I would say that kind of added to it a little.
Hmm.
Yes. As she got older, and like I said, we gave it to her in bits and pieces, as much as her mind could take.
Yeah.
But she had more questions.
Hmm.
Uh, as far as, you know, why is, you know, this their name this, or why is it that, or, you know, why
Yeah.
am I you know. So uh and that kind of did like add to it a bit more as far as us moving forward with this process. But even before that though, we had already, you know, planned on doing
That's
it,
dope.
you know, just to,
That's
like I
dope.
said, just to be have that host that togetherness, wholesomeness, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Holistic. The
Oh.
holistic leads. Right? Yeah, man. So as we close, brother, like what has fatherhood, like what is the difference, man? You went for, years in your 20s without being a pops to, you I've seen the change even from a distance,
Mhm.
um of just how, like the girls are like everything to you. Let's speak on that. Like, how has fatherhood changed you? You know what I mean? Like, how is Marcel Lee a different man because he's a father?
Man, it's crazy because I say you know, coming up in downtown Cincinnati, man, it's a tough place. But my mind was just consumed by, you know, a lot of the ills and negative things taking place around me on a daily, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we never really thought of, man, I'm gonna be married one day with all these babies. My mind was elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't my dream, but experiencing what I do now, feeling the way that I do now, it should have been my dream. You know,
Yeah.
that's how I feel, man. It's nothing like it. You know, from the moment that I met Harmony and got involved, I couldn't understand why a man would want to be absent. You know, I felt like it's necessary for us to be involved in our kids' lives because we a man dictates a lot being in a child's life. These little girls, little boys, they need their daddy. And you moms too, bro. Yeah, man. It's been a beautiful experience for me. It's nothing like it, man.
Awesome, man. So as one last question here, brother, like what does fatherhood mean to you? Like what does the word, what does it symbolize? What does fatherhood mean to you, man?
Man. Tea parties. First time tying the shoe, first time riding a bike, snuggling, stepping outside of your comfort zone, but being a protector as well, uh, being vulnerable, open, uh, being everything, man. Their first uh, example of what a man is, you know, how a man is supposed to maneuver at home, at work, you know, everywhere. That's what being a father is.
That's awesome, man. Marcel, did the kids, did the military, I should say, did the transition of getting out the military, did your family play any role in that, or was it just time to go?
Totally.
Or that take shape? Because we got a lot of guys that are in the military that I think this just you're like the perfect person to kind of answer this question. So did the military, your transition, and you kind of deciding that you would just get that honorable discharge and move on with your life? Did the family have a lot to do with that?
100%.
Okay.
I told you, I was on, 4 deployments and TD wise, leaving a lot. And so being away and on FaceTime and her bringing home that macaroni plate and me not getting to hold it, it was like, man, it was hard, but I wanted to be there for that, for school plays. I wanted to be involved. I felt like I could have did another 11 years, yeah, but I would have been not only, sacrificing my happiness, but it would have been theirs too. And that's something big ups to all the guys that are doing it and serving and still deploying and still leaving and still big ups to you guys. But in my case, I felt it was necessary for me to be present and involved. And where I'm trying to go, it was mandatory for me to get out. Mm-hmm. Just to be more, like I said, more involved and hands-on where I want to go and where I want to take things with my kids, with my wife, just my family. That was the right move for us. So
awesome, man. Awesome. All right, Marcel, what can people find you at, man? You're gonna be a celebrity after this. Maybe not. But if people want to follow your journey, man, be able to touch bases with you, DM you, all of that, man, I always want to have this platform that fathers can not just get to know me, but also get to know my guests, because we all have very unique stories. So Instagram, Facebook, where can guys find you at, man?
All right, so on Instagram, it would be Youngfoot Lee. It's an interesting story behind that. Youngfoot Lee, that's YOUNG FOOTLEE. Twitter, the same. And then Facebook, just Marcel Lee.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I appreciate your time, man. Blessings to you and the family. The adoption went official the day after Christmas, right?
Yes, or just about 2 days after Christmas. So the interview before we got the okay took place on the day that I joined the military. What was that, 12 years ago? Yeah. So it was funny how that worked, and then everything went through December 27th. Yeah. Awesome, it's a great way to end the year.
Oh, for sure, man. I commend you, man, for stepping up, man, and just being that example to so many guys, man. Blended families and step parents and things like that is just such a commonality nowadays, and just the way people navigate it. I just want everybody to be able to speak to their truth and kind of tell their story, man. So thank you for being so open, so transparent. It's just really going to be a blessing to somebody, man. So thank you for being on Fatherhood Friday, man. I'll talk to you later, brother. You take care.
All right. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Blessings.